Good morning. It is August 28th. We will call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. The minutes from August 21st.
Mr. Chair, I did have one little change, I guess. On page 204, under Virgil Hawkins' thing, second paragraph, Brell said he will vote against the motion as he does not support the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit that approaches. I'm not against the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. But I'm against roundabouts in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. So if we could maybe make that change. Actually, yeah.
He wanted it to be 85.
Yep.
I guess I could go along with this. No, but I just don't like roundabouts in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. That's my point.
You prefer 70?
No, slower. Okay.
So you want us to change the 55 speed limit down? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's just that it's
We were all
just
hoping we just slide that by.
Susan understands. You guys don't. So
I understand.
okay. Thank you. With
I
that,
understand
unless
your point.
anybody else had any corrections?
No.
With that correction, I'll move the minutes for approval.
I'll second them.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell with corrections, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Review and approval of agenda. We do have one thing we do need to add. Petition on.
Mr. Chair, we'd like to petition on under timed items. Number A2 would be on County Ditch 10, a discussion of grant application that the SWCD is going to file on Friday.
So item B1,
Maybe.
under timed agendas.
Mr. Chair, I would like to add a discussion to add one or two more committee, budget committee of the whole meeting. 1 or 2 dates, depending on the discussion.
So item C, items for consideration. Anybody have anything else they'd like to add?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda with the modifications and additions.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Batch, second by Commissioner Hewson. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like removed for further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any other discussions regarding consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Good morning.
Hey, good morning,
Bob
Board.
Eaglelock.
Until Greg came in, I only had one item on the agenda. And this was, say Michael wants to take one of the tax forfeited parcels. As you can see, it's a really nicely described piece of property. I'm going to let Brian come up here and tell you about the particulars of this parcel.
Holy smokes.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The parcel that you see here is obviously an odd one. Apparently resulted from development in that area when what do they call it? The one-way pair went in St. Michael. So we have County Road 35 here on the north and County Road 35 coming back to the west on this side, or what, the opposite of that, I'm sorry, eastbound, westbound. And the development of the school. But this is the type of parcel that no single property owner would probably ever buy. The city has stepped up and said that they would acquire it. We're doing it as a purchase because they will likely be resurveying this area and having some reconveyance to some of the existing property owners or as further development occurs in here. And the value that the assessor had on the property was $1,600. So the city will be paying that and, various other costs related to it. But I think it's a good resolution because for us to sell it, we would likely have to subdivide this parcel as well. And we really don't know what the future plans are for that area. So the city is a better person to be in the driver's seat, so to speak.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little bit familiar with this when they were doing the one-way pair and the confusion with all the multiple property owners, and one particular segment had a sewer main and thing going up to the subdivision up there. And this is one of those that gets caught when the madness was going on in the growth period. This is another one of those little cleanup items. Fantastic that St. Michael stepped up and wants to take this. Thank you for finding this and get this off the books, because this is the one that was pain in the butt that we'd be sitting on forever. And with that, I'd make a motion to approve the City of St. Michael tax forfeit land resolution and purchase of that.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewson. Is there any other discussions? I have one question. The one line, it looks like it goes right through the person's house?
Mr. Chair, that is possible. Again, there were some survey discrepancies that resulted in this, so some of that may be eliminated, during the process of fixing all of this. The one further to the east, the wide one here, has actually a path on it, which the city will likely hang on to.
Yep.
So, but it is an odd situation.
Looks like
Okay. So hopefully the city will get it taken care of
two of
then.
them are kind of questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussions? Hearing none, is this a resolution? or-
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, before Greg and Matt get up here, just a reminder that County Ditch 10 is one of our big projects coming up in 2019. We're going to have a conversation about the size of this project along with other projects, talk about financing of it. But right now, this is an opportunity to capture a grant to coincide with the repairs of County Ditch 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Matter kind of came up rather quick yesterday when I was talking to Soil and Water. They indicated that they're going to be trying to apply for I believe it's a clean water grant on Friday in relation to County Ditch 10. So your discussion today will be under your authority as the drainage authority for County Ditch 10, specifically looking at two potential kind of stormwater sediment trap areas. Number 2 and number 3, we have received, at least it's been represented to me from Soil and Water, that the property owners on those 2 are interested in moving forward with this potential project. So Soil and Water is trying to put an grant application in, which is due on Friday. I thought it'd be best to come to you because there is a 25% match that would have to be assessed back to the drainage system. So I wanted to get your buy-in before that as to whether or not you want to commit to that 25% commitment. We did reach out to ISG late yesterday afternoon for a cost estimate for 2 and 3. They were handed out to you. I have not had a chance to talk with ISG about it, but I think we may have gotten the wrong numbers back because these numbers don't correspond with what we have on our sheet here. Originally, stormwater pond or storage treatment number 2 was estimated at 168, and now it is estimated at around 392. And stormwater 3 was at 400 originally, and it's at 100. So I think we may have gotten the wrong ones. So it's a pretty big, it seems like they flipped.
Well, they
So-
might have gotten a little bigger, too.
Well, it also says stormwater 3 on their recent cost estimate is only 2 acres, where on their sheet, it indicates stormwater 3 is 19. So I think we got the wrong data here, or the wrong split from ISG. late last night. So trying to put this together quickly, and I think this is part of what happened. But Andrew just walked in, so maybe we can put him on the firing squad here too. As to what is going on, but.
Good timing, Andrew.
I think a good estimate would probably be to go off the original at this point in time, and assume that it's 400,000 for 3, good estimate there, and number 2 would be around 168. I would still go with those numbers. I think those are, I think it's safer to go high at this point in time until we get clarity on this, but.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I did want to say that, because I have talked to the landowners, at least one of them anyway, and I just think that we need to commend them and say thanks for the landowners too, because there's really not a lot in it for them. I mean, he was even saying that, but he said this is going to help, the water quality Lake Ann, and then in conjunction with making the ditch work a little better, that would be the kind of the only benefit. But so to get the landowners' willingness to go along with this, I think is huge. It was, I don't know, I mean, that was one of the things that we talked about early on. We had all these grandiose ideas, but we still need a landowner to go along with it. And with Andrew and Soil Water and ISG, they actually took the landowners down to a similar facility down near the Mankato area, I do believe, and kind of made a tour out of it for them, and they were impressed with it. So they came back, and right now that seems like they're going forward with it. So I think it's a good thing, and I guess I'm hoping that the board can see fit to move forward with it.
Andrew, do you have anything you want to add to it?
Good morning. I'm not sure what you guys went over already, but in general, yes, we're working on a Clean Water Fund grant. Deadline's Friday. So as you may recall, some of the past meetings and the discussions we've had, the partnership with ISG to pull together the MDM report to call out some potential projects. We've got some landowner buy-in recently, which is good because all of our ideas don't really mean anything unless the landowners are on board. So it looks like we've got some potential. We've got a couple specifically ponds 2 and 3. So we're looking to get some grant funds for that. And I guess the expectation would be that if we receive funds for those projects, there is a 25% match that's required. So some cost estimates, expensive project, I think over $750,000 when you include land acquisition costs. So that 25% is to the tune of like 180,000 or so that would probably be divvied up amongst the benefited landowners of the system. So it's been positive feedback so far, but kind of the rubber's meeting the road here a little bit. And I think, Greg, you wanted to make sure that expectation, I guess, is out there, so it's not some sort of a surprise when, if we get the funds, that there's a match component. Generally, it comes from a single landowner for some of the smaller projects we do, so these are a little bit different, but.
Now, you currently have some grants already that have been approved for County Ditch 10?
Correct, yeah, we have some funds right now. We really haven't spent any of those funds yet for projects. It's around $170,000. We're trying to time it with the larger scale repair of the system. So I know with County Ditch 10, they're going through reestablishment of records and the redetermination, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes. But we kind of have that money earmarked to be used once you start doing the repair. So when things are mobilized, we can dip into those funds to do some of those conservation projects right along the channel of the ditch. And then, there's flexibility. We could possibly use it for these ponds, but, there's a lot of work to be done. So we were hoping we could use that for some other projects and go after some new money for these larger scale ponds, so.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yes,
Commissioner Potter?
Let Commissioner Houston go first.
Okay.
I'm curious, if we get this grant and we're looking to move forward, do we then need a public hearing to approve it at that point, or has it already been approved by the landowners basically to move forward?
Mr. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Houston, my expectation is that these stormwater ponds, if we're applying for the grant, will be part of the repair report that is presented by the engineer, where we'll have a public hearing on them
Okay.
at that point in time.
Okay, good.
I'm anticipating that, because we won't know about if we get awarded this grant till January or February, I'm guessing that stormwater ponds 2 and 3 will probably be bid as an alternate. That'll be my suggestion.
Okay.
That way we can also keep the funding separate, we'll know what it is at the end of the day, and it'll be easier to track.
Okay.
And then if it exceeds by a large amount, those 2, we can always reject them at
Yep.
that point in time if we have to, and reevaluate them later.
Sounds good.
I guess I had a question of Andrew, but let Mike go first.
Go ahead, Commissioner
Thank you,
Potter.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Greg, is it statute or is it law that the ditches and that are our obligation, the county?
It is by state law. You are
By
the drainage
state
authority.
law?
Yes.
This is just to remind the public that we've been spending a lot of money on ditches to correct issues from 100 years that haven't been dealt with. You know, and part of it, when you see budgets change and numbers spent, you're going, what's going on here? Well, we have to fix these. The other benefit for us to fix these is once they have been redetermined in there, it's a lot easier process for us to maintain them in the future, because right now, just pardon the French, it's hell to get anything fixed because you need that redetermination done first. And we want to try to bypass some of those steps so when there is relief to be sought to get these things fixed, I don't want to get caught up in a year and a half, 2 years of bureaucratic crud.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Potter, the bureaucratic nightmare comes from the DNR at the end of the day, so I can't stop their bureaucratic nightmare that they impose upon us, but we try to clean up the work on our end at least.
Correct, and we do our thing, and we do the best we can for that. We do owe the constituents there to take care of what, by law, we're supposed to take care of.
Yes.
And it can get kicked down the road. I don't like kicking cans down the road. This is one thing that's been 100 years in the making.
Over 100.
You know, over 100 in these ditches, and they just need to be dealt with. And some point in time, you need to just take care of it, and this is the time.
Commissioner Burrell.
Andrew, just had a question. Have you been in any communication with TNR like Fred Bankston? Because when they purchased the Grass Lake area, I kind of mentioned that we're looking to do something like that with Grass Lake, and he seemed very receptive to the idea. Matter of fact, even if I remember the conversation, said that's kind of what they were thinking, something of that, on that lines. And I'm just wondering if maybe it's time to, or have you had that communication, I guess, yet?
Yeah, we floated the idea. In the past, they were looking to, I believe, increase the water level in Grass Lake to get some more storage there. But it fell flat, I guess, for lack of some of the landowners around it. They couldn't get everyone on board. So they wanted to do something there, and we floated that idea, but they just said, hey, if you can get everyone on board and get it coordinated, we're supportive,
So I guess my idea was, let's say where Grass Lake kind of is, I mean, it varies throughout the year anyway, but let's just say it was, you picked a level where it's kind of normally at. If we were able to drop it down 6 inches and then through a weir, raise it up another 6, I think you would have the buy-in from the landowners then, because it would, after a rain, yes, their meadows would flood, but it would drain back down and they'd be able to get in and get some hay off the land. I just think it's a way that we could get buy-in from the landowners, and that would still help flood control huge, because that's such a large acreage area. Having that foot of bounce would be, very large, that too. So.
yeah. No, they're open to, I guess, all of our ideas. I think they just have maybe bigger fish to fry, so they're like, if we can pull it together, they're all ears. So, yeah, they're kind of aware. It's on Fred's radar that we're doing stuff in this system, so, hopefully we can make something happen out there, whatever it is.
All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Anybody else have any questions?
No. So at this point, we don't need to act. You're just more or less giving us some information that you don't want to surprise or?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, my goal in bringing this to you was so that there wasn't a surprise in January or February with, oh, there's a 25% match, and we got the money, and what do you mean? So I guess if you want to pass a motion authorizing or asking Soil and Water, partnering with Soil and Water and committing to the 25% match.
Commissioner Potter?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to support the Soil and Water Conservation District applying for a grant for CD10 with 2 storm basins, and the deadline we know is this Friday, and we understand it's a 25% match, and we'll have to deal with that when we get there in the public hearings that follow.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you get the lights?
Now we don't have to fall asleep.
Yep. Items for consideration, committee minutes. Owners Committee, Justice Center, Commissioner Burrell.
Oh, this is going to be a quick meeting here. Mr. Chair, we did have an owners committee. Commissioner Potter and I were out there along with all the different representatives from the construction company and the courts and whatever have you. They kind of gave us an overview of the production. I'm not going to go through and say that the structural steel in Area B and floors 1 and 2 are up, whatever, but they're making good progress, I think, as would be a good summary. We could see some real building going on out there if you drive by. The one thing that we did, we're presented with, we remember, well, this was a month and a half, 2 months ago, they had some anticipated extra topsoil and fill work that they had to do. That came in well below the preliminary estimate, so it ended up being only about 26,000 and a little under 27, I guess. So that was good news. There are some other change orders that are in. One of them was regarding some plumbing, and that one was, Mike, was it the 42 or the 21?
246.
About 42,000, and that was for some code requirements and some code discrepancies have been identified, they said, so they had to do some changes to make sure that that worked. One of the other things that came up, Alan's not here today, but he actually, it was a good thing that he was out there on the job site, but where the buildings connect up, they were planning on just filling the bottom in with dirt, and he's like, it wouldn't cost much to put some walls up there, pour a floor, and have some storage, so we're gonna end up with about, Mike said about 1,500 feet of,
1,600.
give or take, for not a whole lot of money. I mean, because it would cost money to do the fill and everything else. So the area was there. We're not expanding the footprint of the building at all. And Commissioner Potter and I were in agreement that it's on a facility like this, you can never have enough storage. So let me see. Oh, and then we talked about, Mike had brought up the fact that make sure that we have the conduit that we need in the floors when we pour them. And one of the judges brought up the fact that with the furniture arrangements in the room, you know, if we have floor outlets and stuff. So what the contractor actually said is, rather than trying to guess where these are, they might just do what is it called?
Core drill.
A core drill through the floor, put it exactly where they need it at a later time, and because they have that available. So that was some of the stuff that they're doing, and everything right though now is on schedule, it's on budget, looking good out there, and I don't know if Mike wanted to add anything, but I think that's, it seemed like everything was situation normal, I guess.
The only thing I wanted to add is with the conduits and the floor boxes and that, it was just one of the, let's take one last look at it before we get to this point, because once it's poured, then you're done with that part of it. And just to reaffirm things, because you can look things over 5 times, and the 6th time you should have looked at it. It's kind of like with the storage area. We add those conference rooms later, not thinking about below what was going on, but it's a perfect example of, you know, you can't get the storage space at a premium in these places. Like saying back to the conduit one, it was basically just let's look at it one more time before we get to the point of no return on this. And it is a couple days ahead of schedule. So that's kind of nice. It's
Okay.
I looked at the chart of the things that a lot of things were just a few days ahead.
I call that on schedule because you're ahead a couple days, you get some bad weather, now you're back even and whatever, so, but it's looking real good right now. Anyway, with that, Mr. Chair, I'll move forth the minutes, and there is no recommendation, I don't believe, no. other than our next meeting, September 19th.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. And again, for the public, you can go to the county website and you can watch it on video of the building going up. So, if you're bored, there's something you can do. On a rainy day like
Yeah.
today.
You can watch cement dry.
Cement dry, yeah. Yeah, you won't be able to watch cement or paint dry.
Dry yet.
No,
Paint dry,
just
yeah,
cement
not
dry.
yet, but you will be able to.
Well, I don't know about that. Commissioner Houston.
All right. The Personnel Employee Relations Committee met on August 22nd, 2018. Members present, Lyden Hewsome, Sean Johnson, Steve Job, and Lee Kelly. And the item for consideration was performance review for Steve Job, County Surveyor. The recommendation, performance appraisal, Steve Job, County Surveyor, based on 5 performance evaluations received. The Personnel Committee recommends a rating of meets expectations. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will move the recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Potter. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Technology Committee, Commissioner Betch.
All right, on Wednesday, August 22nd, the IT committee met. If you want to read all the names, they're available there in print. There's a room full of people. First item discussed was the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning update, which basically was just letting us know that September 4th through the 7th Infotech will be on site and beginning that process of drawing up an RFP. Second item on the agenda was Office 365 update. Basically, had conversations of the next step with Office 365, which is the SharePoint Online Hybrid and OneDrive. And then we also discussed the need for additional 30 more license of the Office 365. The conversation kind of surrounded the additional maintenance fee from Nintex is $8,000 a year. The online version is $40,000 a year, so there's some change in the costs involved with that. Then there was also a discussion with changing from AirWatch to another potential vendor for the basically online data. That was basically kind of informational only on the Office 365. The other item discussed was the IT project portfolios, which was discussed for the greater portion of the meeting. IT was looking for direction from the group on how they assign members to projects. Right now, basically, the IT takes projects that are under construction into 3 groups. There's the IT group, which is just those people in IT. Then there's the second group, which is basically the department people that are actually contributing to it. And then there's the read-only group, and they wanted to change the process because the way the process currently works is that IT manually enters in all the people to that secondary group, that contributing group, and they wanted to change it to where basically there would be just pre-arranged groups that they could just say, you know what, if it's an HHS project, we're just going to click and put HHS, and all HHS staff would be able to be part of that contributing group. After much discussion, it was decided to keep the system at its current status where they are manually adding people, just because we felt that the process that just letting just anybody into that group, they felt that not everybody needs to have that ability to look at it, and because department heads felt that some things, when they're under construction, they don't want everybody having input to it. They want to, because it doesn't have that much broad.
So they can determine
Yeah.
people that need to be included.
Yep.
Okay.
They don't want to have everybody have that access to it. So basically, after a long discussion, that was the keep it as is. The other item we discussed was just kind of where we're at. To this date, 35 projects have been closed, 42 new projects have been opened year to date, and the current project list is at 79. And if you don't remember, that is a much better position than we were 12 months ago, because I think we were over 130 at that time, about 12 months ago. So, on a good note, with that, that was informational only. All the minutes, I will make a motion to approve the minutes, and there is no recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Coordinator Kelly, cancel meeting in October. There are 5 Tuesdays.
Yes, sir, that is correct. We have not canceled one of those meetings to date. I don't know if there are a preference amongst the board.
Is there a preference amongst administration?
Selfishly, the administrators' conference is the first week of October, so that second board meeting would be a nice one for me to take off, but
The 9th or the 2nd?
certainly up for whatever.
We have
You said October
leadership.
9th,
The only thing, we
Yes.
have leadership that same
Right.
day, too.
so we'd have to
True.
move that.
We could move
Would we
it.
move leadership
Could
then?
move it. Either way, I really don't have a strong preference.
Since you're in charge of it. Well, I don't know, October 2nd sounds good if it,
Or 2nd or 9th?
he said the 2nd.
But
You want-
no, you said,
Second Tuesday, the second of the day of the second.
We have leadership on the 9th, it'd be easier to leave it.
Oh, so you're recommending, I thought you meant the second Tuesday. You mean,
That was my preference,
Okay.
yes, but
Oh,
I
it is.
had forgotten that leadership was also that day,
we
so.
could change leadership, too. It's if,
Yeah.
I mean, because I have no,
I'm fine with moving leadership. too.
Again, I don't have a strong preference, so.
yeah, I have no preference.
so should we move the leadership to the following Tuesday then? For the 16th?
Well, we do have, we will have committee meetings that week also.
Okay.
Yep.
And you'll be out all week?
No, I'll just the last 3 days of the week before that, 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Oh, that's when it's,
So he'll actually be here on the 9th.
Correct. So
Oh,
I'll
okay.
review the agendas remotely and.
So it's not,
okay.
otherwise, do you guys, I don't know, what do you want
I
to
have
do?
no preference at all, so,
Well, why don't we, I don't know. We can do the 2nd?
2nd, I'm fine with the 2nd.
no board.
Hmm.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion then that we cancel the October 2nd meeting because of the 5 Tuesdays in the month.
October 2nd or October 9th?
October 2nd, right?
2nd, okay.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Houston. Any other discussion? Motion, or, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. No board meeting on the 2nd of October.
Looks like everybody wanted to chime in on that one.
Services there too.
Right, yeah.
Commissioner Vetch, you want to have more budget meetings?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think we've discussed everything as a whole, how it all implements in here, and basically, knowing on the number of staff requests that we have to address tomorrow, we won't have enough time to talk about everything as a whole, and if everybody's
Future?
comfortable with where it is.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Commissioner Vetch, because I was also going to make that request.
And now it's just looking here to Mr. Kelly to kind of give us some guidance on when we can do this.
Sure. I think it would be good, speaking from the staff perspective, to give us a little bit of time to circle the wagon, so to speak, and make sure we've documented and booked everything to accurately reflect the changes that we've made through the budget sessions and come maybe with some proposals for the board. So that said, I've kind of been looking at the week of the 10th and the 17th. We did move the Wednesday 12th committee day to Monday the 10th. Starting at 11 a.m. I was wondering if that afternoon would be a possibility.
10th?
Afternoon of the-
HHS?
After HHS?
Would be one idea. Otherwise, potentially, we do have some ditch hearings after the board on the 11th, but that afternoon may be a possibility as well.
I would be in favor of the afternoon of the 11th.
The 11th would be okay. I could do the 11th, whatever you want to do.
12:30.
Want to do it at 1 o'clock or 12:30? We can even do
I have
12.
a transportation lines workshop that day down St. Paul.
In the afternoon? Okay, so
All
12th,
afternoon?
11th is
It's
out.
actually all day, but I wouldn't make the morning because I'd be at the board here.
Then we also have September 11th we're talking, right?
Correct,
And Mike, we
yes.
also have extension that day too.
So the 11th sounds like it's out.
Yeah.
We have what on the 11th?
I have, Mike and I have extension.
Extension,
committee.
you have extension 4
He's gonna be
o'clock.
gone. Mike will be gone anyway, so
How about the 17th? Is that,
what was wrong with the 10th in the afternoon, the Monday?
well,
HHS at
it
1:30.
starts at, we would start, later, but,
Yeah,
And we could do multiple meetings. We do, by statute, have to adopt by the 30th of September. So that would put us on the 25th as our last board meeting to adopt without calling a special meeting.
the 13th, 14th, we're gone.
17th in the morning, I have wage reopener negotiations with the Great River Regional Library in the morning. Hopefully done by noon, but you never know how those things go.
So that brings us to the 18th.
18th, I have library board, I got WCAT and library board in the afternoon.
We could do a 10:30 on the 18th and just try to, we'll go right to 12:30 or 1 o'clock and then just leave us as,
That's possible.
Mike, can you go that late?
So it sounds like the 18th.
10:30?
Do we want to set another date?
I think we should, and
and then we can always cancel it.
Yep.
Mike, I mean, if you could strive to be back at, after your board,
It's 19th in the morning, look like.
I will be gone at training that day. We've got the retreat on the 20th. Can we tentatively schedule one for the 17th? Mike, you think
Yeah,
you're
if
supposed to be
if the afternoon,
back at 1 o'clock or
Like
so?
1 o'clock.
Okay, I think that would be good, and then we'll see where we're at by the next day.
We're gonna go September 19th.
Can we make it to 1:30 just to give me that time? Because I'll be up in St. Cloud.
Did you say the 17th or the 19th?
I said the 17th, I will be gone on the 19th.
Yeah, the 19th doesn't.
So we're going to the 17th? Okay.
And 18th.
17th and 18th, and we're doing 1:30 on the
17th?
17th, and we're doing 10:30 on the 18th? Okay.
And, Mr. Chair, Coordinator Kelly, it may not hurt just to, if we have to adopt it by the 25th, if we have any wrap-up things on the 24th, maybe we could tentatively schedule it.
I will not be available on 24th. Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
thank you. I just want to remind it that the preliminary budget is just that, this preliminary's got to put in. If we do not have everything wrapped up, we still have time to adjust it. Once you set that preliminary levy, you can only go down from there, you cannot go up. So if we're running in a crunch of time here, the preliminary one, if we start getting too much, you can, the preliminary and the final don't have to be the same number. A lot of places don't have that because they don't have enough information, because some money's not available, some grants, some things don't come out until after your preliminary budget is set. But it can go down if we run into a quandary where you can't get all the information you're hoping for before the 25th. You can adopt it at the 25th and go down from there for the final in December.
Some of the things, I don't know if you want to have some direction. I wanted to have what the 5-year outlook would look like based on what the potential levy would be set at.
Yeah, I'd like that too.
And then
Wonderful.
because I want to know what the impact would be, especially for 2020, based on what we do. I also want to talk about debt service in it. And I also want to talk about the current CIP levels that we're at, to make sure we're comfortable with that with the levy. Those are kind of the big three highlights, and then obviously taxpayer impact, so.
Yeah.
Everybody
right.
comfortable with those items?
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Batch. Any other discussions? Coordinator Kelly, works.
Yeah,
All right.
works for me.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Advisory Committee, Advisory Board updates. Commissioner Burrell.
Last Tuesday had a real good time. They had their annual banquet for the Farm Bureau and had a real good turnout for that. It's actually the Farm Bureau's 100th anniversary. They were formed in 1918, but they actually started meeting in the 19th, so it's going to kind of, I guess, be a double celebration thing. And then Commissioner Delighten and I had a good time and a lot of really good information on where the Wright County Community Action is going. They had their annual meeting in Buffalo here at Christus Church, I found out, so it's a very nice facility there.
Yeah, thanks.
But anyway, they had recognized a lot of volunteer people and a lot of the just super ideas that they're doing to help lower income people in our county keep being productive and being in the workforce and having a place to live and raise their families and everything else. So they're doing a lot of things. So anyway, that was it.
Good. Yeah, I hated to miss the Farm Bureau dinner, but I'd already committed to going to the Lake Pulaski Association meeting, and so that was a lot of good information. They're doing their best to, keep monitors at the access on Lake Pulaski, the Griffin Park access, but they still have a lot of people that are trying to get onto the lake with weeds on their boats, and so that's been a actually worse problem this year than it was last year. Went to the Turn graduation. That was a good drug court last Thursday, and to listen to these success stories of these people that are in this program, and they have intense monitoring, and to get them on the right track, and it's been a great program. So they had a graduate and one, yep. They're getting closer. I mean, yep, with others, but when you're talking 500 days of sobriety, and with some of these people, and Congressman Emmer was there, and Representative O'Neill, so good
great.
to see them.
Anything else?
Nope, that is it.
Last Thursday, I had a water task force meeting, and we met actually up in Annandale. Got an opportunity to see the regional inspection station, and it was a good day because they had a pontoon that came out of Clearwater Lake, I believe, that was full of zebra mussels.
Ooh, really?
So they had to clean all those off, and in the basin,
Decontamination.
yeah, was lots and lots and lots of little baby zebra mussels.
Oh, my goodness.
It was just incredible on how many there were, and they are so small.
That's what they say. It's difficult for,
Yep.
the naked eye to even identify.
Yeah, well, and these you could definitely see, but it was incredible on how many there were there. So if that pontoon had gone to another lake, it would have definitely contaminated it with zebra mussels. So it was a good thing that is available. There's still more discussions to come regarding its future, but it was interesting. I got all the numbers. Unfortunately, I left those in my vehicle, and I forgot to bring them. But there was quite a few inspections, both at the lakes that aren't involved in the regional inspection. So it's interesting on how many contaminants they've been finding out. And one of the things that they did talk about is that the education piece, it has been working, because it is state law that you can't have your plug in your boat while you're
Right.
traveling, and that Wright County, I think they said, is only 3% have had the plugs in their boat. So where the state is I think at 5%. So it is showing that the education has helped, because it was higher before.
I know there was a guy that was speaking in here too. He learned something. He said they had their motor up, even
Yeah.
though they had the plug out, when they lower it down, all the water drained out, so you could have had zebra mussel or whatever in there too, so they have to lower their drive unit to drain that out.
Yeah, so, yeah, you're right, it's an education piece, and it's not the best way to do things, but until we can figure out a better way to do it, it's what we have. And there are some articles in the NPR that I believe Commissioner Burrell had found regarding Minnesota Public Radio, an article that
He is an avid listener,
made sure he forwarded to us, I believe. I believe it was Commissioner Burrell that had
Or someone else in
found
the room.
it.
Sustaining member, right?
Last week on Wednesday, myself and Commissioner Houston sat on the, I don't know what you want to call it, an AIS task force, coalition advisory group that basically is just working on forming to kind of see where we're going to go right now as collectively as a whole for Wright County in terms of combating AIS as a whole, as a group between soil and water, lake associations, the county, and any other interested parties. It's very preliminary, but there will be more meetings to come. But it looks like it could be a definite worthwhile venture for us as a county to be part of this group. And there's a lot of people that want to see different things done and how we go about it, so.
They're gonna try to get some of the anglers and stuff
Yep,
involved.
that's part of the discussion on it too, so we've had
Right.
some discussions on
To
that.
open up the communication and bring everybody on board essentially, to figure out, find our solutions instead of, just kind of butting heads in certain issues and, we want everybody at the table. Right now, it's trying to form the ideas of what the whole group looks like and what we can do to improve things, but.
Well, because they have the AIS on the water task force that Commissioner Dahlheiten sits on, but that group doesn't form all the different entities that have skin in the game. So we're looking at trying to go back to the drawing board, and this is really kind of trying to bring all the people that are using and putting money into treating the lakes and bringing them all to a table. So I think this is a good approach to it, so.
This is also the one you want to try and have DNR
That's what
also involved
yep, we
in
want
it.
to bring the DNR at the table too.
DNR
yep.
is part of the group.
That's where we really wanted to do. Everybody that either
Soil and
enforces
water.
it or has money involved in it,
Yeah.
and even we want some of the heavy users of it too at the table, so there's no dissension on the backside on the routes that we decide to go to.
Well, that's all we can do is have continued discussions on trying to solve the problem, because it's a
Absolutely.
problem.
It is. Second item is myself and Commissioner Potter yesterday met with our largest taxpayer of Xcel Energy. This is kind of one of like a dozen meetings, but we're continuing the conversations that are going forward on what they're open, not open, what their property taxes will look like. There's some legislation that was in the last session in modifying, going from more of a evaluation style to a production style tax assessment. Likely this legislation will probably come back in this next session. It could have some big implications to the county depending on what that legislation looks like. So trying to keep really close monitor on that. I think a number of staff that sat in on that meeting because I think it's very important.
You want to provide us with those theoretical numbers if this passes?
Well, I mean, an interesting point for you guys to realize is that right now, Xcel Energy is taxed, they're, as a whole, the county, they're tax assessed at about $908 million. Now, 800 million of that 908 million is basically based on the plant operating. So if the plant doesn't operate, we would lose a tax assessed value of about 800 million, bringing it down to about $108 million. About 85, 90% loss in value just by shutting the plant down. That was numbers that I wasn't aware of until that meeting there. I had some idea that it was pretty high, but I didn't realize it was that high.
And that would have what effect on the county?
Well, they basically make about 9% of our levy of our in tax revenue, it comes from
Excel.
Excel. Talking with the city of Monticello, actually, as of currently, just with Jeff O'Neill, let me know that about 79% of the city of Monticello's tax revenue comes from Excel.
So it's going to be an impact to the county, but it's going to be more of an impact on Monticello.
Monticello, yes. It's something we have to be cognizant with it. We do realize that ultimately it's not looking good for 2030. We do need to start working our way on weaning that and being able to wean that number down. And that's where we have to make some tough decisions now, but it will set us up to be in a better position later if we make these tough decisions now. Just not to be alarmist, everyone, but I want you guys to know that myself, and then I brought Commissioner Potter to the table just so we're more than just myself is cognizant of what is going on.
So 2030, chances are there'll be a big cut.
Well, 2030 is the latest, because, well, having discussions
It
with...
could go
It
sooner.
could go sooner, because if it's say, this is all theoretical, you get to 2027 and some major parts of that plant break, and they say they had to stick $50-60 million into it, they probably wouldn't make the repairs. They'd probably go for early closure because they wouldn't be able to recoup the cost of putting those parts into the plant. So that's the reason. I mean, they're still in their integrated resource plans, their IRP, or no, yeah, ERP planning. So they haven't outright publicly disclosed that they're closing the plant, but all indications, it's not likely, especially even nationally. Most plants that have hit their 60-year life, majority of them are not getting renewed. So, I'm not.
But we have to look at the theoretical possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
That's one of our jobs, is to plan for the future.
Plan for the future. And I mean, the future is saying likely we probably won't have the power plant. And we know that the very longest would be probably 2030 unless something majorly changes in nuclear power. And it is possible it could happen sooner, And it is a huge tax,
Yep, a big impact to the county.
I mean,
Thank you for that good news.
I'm always a ray of sunshine,
Commissioner, that was it?
Sunshine Batch.
Yeah, I just gonna let you guys know.
No,
I
no,
think
I
most of
did-
you heard on the side of me. Excel makes up about almost $7 million of the annually of
For coming
tax
up
revenue
with
to
it.
the county. I mean, that's not just the school district and the cities is in addition. So, big numbers.
Yep. Commissioner Potter?
Yeah, just to add on to that, the repairs on the nuclear reactor, the big ones, are closer to the 100 million.
Yeah.
Not 50-60 million. Big difference in the number. Also takes them, in that kind of thing, you have to get Public Utilities Commission permission, and they make you pay in the front for it. And if that kind of investment, they need at least 10 years of generation in order to pay. That's why the early closure comes into play. And I, along with Commissioner Vetch, it's incumbent upon us to pay attention to what's going on here, because 12 years is not that far off. And we want to make sure that a future board is fully aware of whatever is going to happen there. There's a lot of different scenarios and everything's up in the air right now. But this is important for us to be at the table and pay attention to what's going on, being a host county for a
Definitely.
plant.
Yeah.
And that's where this is real important for us going forward.
So there's probably no chance that it could go even longer to 2035 or
They would have to
2040?
get new regulations. They have to get license extensions from the PUC, and even nationally it's in the NRC. They'd have to get extensions from, and
Is
I
that
think
happening?
the last number I heard, I think there's only been like one out of I think there's like 6 or 9 plants so far that have hit that 60 life, and only one of them has gotten an extension beyond that 60-year mark. I mean, so if you're a betting person, your odds are stacked pretty heavy against you.
Well, again, that's just one of the things we need to,
The fact that theirs is broken down from the power generation part to the distribution part to your substations, there's many different moving parts in there. And like I say, the effect of the power generation is such a large component within what they pay. That goes down. That's a huge impact.
yep, I agree. All right. Do you have any other good news?
Oh, no.
But I will be saying that I'm guessing, I don't know if Lee will be bringing forward that we're working with Flaherty and Hood to help us navigate some of the information. I want to be able to enter into a contract to help vet out the complex bills. Myself and staff, and I'm hoping that Coordinator Kelly at some point will bring that forward for the board to approve, using them to help us navigate the waters with this Excel piece, and then they're also going to help us in other areas if we so wish.
Commissioner Potter, do you have anything else?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Coordinator Kelly.
A few quick updates. Friday, we had the Association of County Administrators Executive Committee, which I serve on. We had a nice presentation from both the County Association of Assessing Officers, who's now partnered with AMC to become an affiliate organization. Talked over some of their legislative things, which interesting overlap with some of the things that we were seeing in other areas. Also, AMC, the executive committee met for AMC and is making a few changes, planning upcoming in their structure, and just issued their dues for 2019's budget. So we have that information now and moving forward. Relative to the conference I mentioned earlier, Wright County's been asked to present at the Administrators Conference regarding how we've handled our email and data retention. AMC's been kind of impressed on how we went about it and wants us to share our model with our fellow administrators.
Good. And they have no intentions of taking away our employees. That's
I
helpful.
certainly hope not. We have some great folks and we'd love to keep them, so. And then lastly, our ERP session is next week, the 4th through the 7th. Hopefully, everybody has a good holiday weekend before that.
And a safe holiday.
A safe holiday, absolutely.
Anybody else have anything? Hearing nothing before the board, we are adjourned at 9:50.